There's no questioning the potency of the San Francisco 49ers offense. The defense, though, has been a revolving door at the coordinator position since Robert Saleh left in 2021 to be the coach of the Jets. D'Amico Ryans held the job for 2 years before he became the coach of the Texans. Then it was Steve Wilks, one and done. He wasn't suited to the scheme that they run in San Francisco, and it was a tough transition. This year, Nick Sorensen with Brandon Staley there as assistant head coach defense. Sorensen one and done. They reportedly want to try to pivot him to special teams coordinator. I can't remember where I saw that, but it makes sense. They want to keep him on the staff. So now 2025, what are they going to do? Here's Kyle Shanahan yesterday being asked this specific question. Do you want to stick with the same defensive scheme you've always had?
I mean, I love the scheme that we've had here. I think it's one of the hardest things to go to when you got the right guys in the right spots. But I do think people adjust to schemes, and I think you have to adjust too, depending on your personnel. And I think that was a tougher thing for us this year. Just going into the season, it was a little bit harder than past seasons. And some of the injuries we had, I think, made it really tough for Nick. And I thought he got better trying to adjust and do different things. But I do think that's something that definitely, I'm not saying you got to change schemes, but you have to have the ability, the history, and the knowledge of how to change some stuff up when you're in some certain situations. And I think that we do need that more going forward.
Yeah, look, you take the players you have and you install a scheme that gets the most out of what you have. And if you have a strength in one area, you play to that. If you're weak in another area, you don't try to make those guys do something they can't do. So the scheme is one thing, but they need better players defensively. They've, when you have those guys that roll out of bed and run through a brick wall and sometimes the wall wins, you're going to have injuries. You're going to have depth issues. And I think it's going to be incumbent on the team this offseason to try to get some of these younger guys, healthier guys who have that John Lynch mindset. We praised them a few years ago because John Lynch is finding guys who played football just like him. They need to find more guys like that who are cheap under that rookie wage scale, 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round pick type guy.
Yeah, they do. I mean, that's they built their team with a lot of those type of guys, and the team we see now. I mean, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Hufanga, some of those guys are those mid-round guys that you're talking about where they struck gold. They need to do that one more time, certainly. I think you look at them in the defensive scheme, right? They're rooted in the Seattle scheme. And Shanahan, he said it right. I mean, when you're really good and you have really unbelievable talent, okay, it is a great scheme. We know that. It's hard. But when it does fall off, the scheme doesn't give you much schematical advantages. That's my problem. And sometimes, I think within that scheme, so many teams run it in football that I think the good offenses and good quarterbacks, right? Like we've seen the Chiefs and some other ones where they've played against it so much, they have all the tricks to kind of go, well, it's the Seattle scheme. We know when we line up in this formation, it's going to be like one of two things. Oh, when we get in this formation, it's going to be like one or two things. And that's, tough to go against when it's a really talented defense. But at the same time, too, there's no we got caught off guard. And I think that's what Shanahan is talking about. When you look at some of the best defenses in football right now, they do things that catch you off guard, right? It's okay, hey, Seattle scheme. Oh, no, what the hell is this? Oh, gosh, said Hut. And that's how turnovers and mistakes are created because the quarterback doesn't think clearly. It messes with the rules of guys on the football field. There becomes a little more chaos in the brain of the offense, and that's where mistakes can happen. I think with the way the league is and so many people running the Seattle scheme, that most good teams and good offenses are like, yeah, we might not be able to find big plays because it protects against that so much, but we'll just pick them apart slowly but surely because we know what they're going to do. And I think that's where there's got to be a little more versatility in that scheme out in San Francisco.
I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah.
Unpredictability on both sides of the ball is the key to success. And when you have a defense that you just break down the film, you see what they're doing, you come up with a strategy for attacking, you go out and do it, and they don't adjust to it, that's a problem. And look, last year when Steve Wilks was fired and Nick Sorensen was given the job, it was very easy to say, hey, next year they can just hire Robert Saleh because he probably won't be the coach of the Jets. And here we are. He's not the coach of the Jets, and there's already talk of him going back. I don't know that I'd want to go back if I was him. I don't know that I'd want to. Different personnel. All of a sudden, you don't look like a very good defensive coordinator. I'd want to go to a team where I think that the cupboard is stocked, and it'll work, and I'll look like a pretty damn good coach because I'm walking through the door with pretty damn good players. Not to take anything away from the guys they have, like Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, and they want to bring back Dre Greenlaw. They're not going to bring back Javon Hargrave. That's something that Lynch said yesterday. But I would really be careful because the good old days, when you try to recreate them, you realize they maybe weren't as good as you remembered. And you're going to have a hard time living up to your memory of how great it was for you the last time around.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I do still think there's, a lot of talent there, right? And with Robert Saleh, I mean, I understand the point you're making, but it is a place where they had great success. And I think, his energy and what he was spawned a lot of what we saw in this 49er defense. You said it, like Lynch and Shanahan, their ability to find those type of players that'll run through a wall. Saleh knows how to find those players, and then Saleh knows how to motivate them to go, don't even think about running through it. Just run through it. And that's where he was
all
really
gas,
good.
no brakes.
Exactly. And that filtered over to the D'Amico Ryans, and it was a good thing. And he has that same type of energy. You see that. So I understand the 49ers wanting him, and hey, I don't know what Robert Saleh and all his options are out there. I don't think he's going to be a head coach. I know he's getting interviewed by Jacksonville and all of that. I would still think the 49ers is one of the better options he has.
Well, and you're going to also be working for free if you're Robert Saleh because your buyout's going to be subject to a dollar-for-dollar offset. So you're going to make whatever Woody Johnson owes you next year, whether you work or don't work. It all comes down to whether or not you want to jump right back into it right away.
Right.
But, it's clearly an option. And, it's astounding because you were talking about how great they were under Saleh, and I'm thinking, well, they made it to as many Super Bowls with him as without him. They made it to the Super Bowl with Steve Wilkes, and he got fired.
I know.
I mean, it's at some point you got to get that settled down. You got to get a long-term answer, and I guess you got to hope that you don't have your defensive coordinator getting hired to be a head coach because that creates the problem. They had to replace Saleh, they had to replace Ryans, and they've struggled since then. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.